Hello writers. This video discusses three basic elements of good writing. The first is passive voice, which is not a good element, writing declarative sentences, which is, and the overuse of subjective adjectives, especially in academic or scholarly type of writing. By the way, most of the sentences I just did were in passive voice, and of course this image here is written in the passive voice. So what do I mean? Well, first of all, when I look at your papers, I do this. First thing, I press F7 and I get a grammar and spell check. So we go through the whole paper, and if you've been through my class, you know you get these types of comments and information. So first thing that I do is I look to see what the spelling mistakes are in some grammar. So here's one, passive voice, yet recent research indicates that people with dementia are many times not treated with dignity. Alright, so let's go on to the next one. Let's see if there's more. Yeah, there is. People with dementia can be treated as equal members of society and treated with dignity. Sounds familiar. And some split infinitives, which we won't go to in this video. Be reminded. Okay, this is the verb form of be. There's comparisons, and then we have some names of people. So there are a couple of things. Okay, here's another passive voice. A person's inherent dignity is not affected by those around him. It is one's personal dignity that can be enhanced or harmed by others. Remember, folks, this is a draft. So the next one is the effect is felt. If you notice the way this is written, the effect is felt by one with dementia. So why are these passive voice types of sentences? Well, first of all, active voice, the opposite, adds impact to your writing. So all of these sites I'm using here have been done by other people. So I take no credit for their information, and I don't take any credit for any of the ads that pop up on the side. So these are just things that I found online, and you can use them for what they're worth, but they do have some good information. So let's look at some examples here. This is the active. I really love this dog. Monkeys live in the jungle. She threw the ball to the John. Okay, now notice the difference. This dog is really loved by me. So I, being the pronoun here, love, verb, and then the object. Okay, so that's basically it right there. That's what an active voice is. When you put yourself, say, over here by the end of the sentence, then it becomes a passive sentence. The jungle is where monkeys live. A lot of times when you use the word, the verb is or the verb are, you're forcing your subject to be at the end of your sentence, and that weakens the sentence. All right, you want to make it very strong when you're writing academic writing. So it's not impactful if you're using the passive voice. Okay, it adds impact, and it's direct. That's what I've been saying many times in these things that you've been writing and in your drafts. Okay, so this site here will be included in the video sent to you, and you can see you can just click on. In fact, if you click on to this, you can see a pretty well colorful type of chart here as what the difference is. So take a look at this, and this tell what a person or thing does. I do this. It does that. It was not done by me. That's passive. Okay, all these things happen to me. That's passive. But when you're writing an academic paper, you want to be direct. You want to tell your folks, this is what this person has done, or this has caused this thing to happen. Okay, the passive, it tells what is done to someone or something. Okay, so be careful. Now this does not mean you can't write a passive sentence or two, but it's much more powerful if you keep that to a minimum, almost to zero. Okay, so that's the active. I'll show you another one here, and this other thing will be available to you as an example. So you can see that these are the subject is doing the verb's action, Alright, so this man must have eaten 5 hamburgers. So man is the subject and there's the verb here. Okay, so these are examples. On the passive voice, the 5 hamburgers must have been eaten by the man. Can you see the tone, how different it is? That's the difference between active and passive voice. So take a look at these examples and notice where the verb is and where the prepositional phrase is. Don't end your sentences on a preposition too. That may be another video. So what does the action, the doer of the action, action receiver? This is probably the best example right here. The doer of the action, the verb is the action, and then the receiver of the action. Especially with your type of research where you're looking at to cause and effect, then you want to put the cause of the action at the beginning and the effect at the end. Alright, so look at these examples. Again, this site is available to you. The second thing I want to focus on is declarative sentence examples. And when you're writing research, you are giving us the facts. So be direct. And that's what we talk about when we mention declarative sentences. Look at these declarative sentence examples. He runs, she sings, I like climbing, and so on. Okay? So there are different types of declarative sentences. So look at these examples, but that's what I mean when I put in my comments that I want declarative sentences. Okay, and you can see that they're action. All right, I love my cat, not my cat is loved by me. That would be passive. All right, let's see, the boy was chased by the dog. That would be passive. Okay, the dog chased the boy. Bing, that's all it is. Very short, very direct. And finally, sometimes I put down avoid flowery adjectives. What I really mean is subjective adjectives, and this guy is Larry Gifford, and he and I both hate this type of writing, especially in academic writing. And I'll mention one. I'm not saying the student's name, but the example was that there's an astronomical number of cases. Well, if you talk about an astronomical number, you're talking about the number of stars and atoms in the stars, and there's just no way that the cases that you're talking about would be that number. So watch out. This is a very beautiful example of something. That's also a subjective adjective. Don't use subjective adjectives, all right? Because you're talking about facts. So let the facts speak for themselves. So this fact was, this is a sad, shocking, funny story. Those are subjective adjectives, okay? So avoid that. So just use things that represent facts, not subjective. So find objective adjectives, all right? My apartment building is a towering 112 floors, okay? That's a fact. It is not, you can't say this is an awesome apartment building, all right? Awesome apartment building. Or these facts are awesome, or the data are tremendous. Those are subjective adjectives. So avoid those subjective adjectives in your writing. So again, the 3 things we talked about in this video is the active voice. Let's go all the way back. And then declarative sentences. Let's go all the way back. And then subjective adjectives. Don't use the passive voice. Don't use undeclarative sentences. And don't use subjective adjectives. Thank you very much.